Hi, this is
Hi.
Byte Relay. Hi, Sergey. Sergey is from Percona, and Sergey, tell us about yourself, some words.
Yeah. Hello, Andre. Yeah, I'm from Percona. I'm a group product manager at Percona, and what I do mostly is I focus on our Kubernetes operators, our Percona monitoring and management solution, and also I help other product managers at Percona to thrive and build their products. Yeah.
Cool. And how comes that you are working with databases? Why databases? Is it your like a career step, or did you consciously was looking for some stateful stuff?
No. It was the other way around, actually. This stateful stuff was looking for me, I think. Uh,
Cool. So
so yeah, I've
databases
been
found
working.
you.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I've been working as a developer, as operations like SRE type of thing. Then I moved to the manager role, manager of managers, right? And throughout the whole my career, I've been mostly working on some platform building stuff, like building a platform for VMs, something based on VMware, for example, or building a platform for databases where developers can run their databases and so on. Before, I was working in a merge and acquisition business where we were acquiring lots of companies, and it was 100 plus different companies, and they were all running on our platform that we were building for them. And one of these platforms was Kubernetes. So we were building something like Kubernetes as a service. And then I saw an opening at Percona, like, hey, we're looking for a Kubernetes guy. And I was kind of curious because I know worked with open source, it's number one. And then it was kind of a challenge for me because, okay, it's databases. Definitely, it's something different, right? So I applied to this position. We talked with various folks, with Peter Zaitsev. And yeah, then I joined Percona, and it was kind of a game changer for me because now my focus from various like VMs, Kubernetes containers, applications, and so on, it's kind of narrowed to databases, right? And now I work all about databases, and it's pretty fun.
Cool. And did you have to learn something new about databases, or your prior experience was enough to just jumpstart with databases?
No, it was definitely not enough. Obviously, as a developer or as an operations engineer, you always work with databases more or less. Like you know how to run a SQL query, you know how to set it up, how to monitor, whatever. But at Percona, it's kind of the new level where you need to understand how it works in depth because we write a lot of code for databases. Our customers and users, they run our products, they face various issues, and they come to us with their problems. And you need to understand, okay, what this problem is about. Especially as a product manager, I need to understand, okay, is it really a problem? Is it going to bring value to Percona? And so on. So definitely, I had to learn a lot, and I'm constantly learning new stuff every day because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a big
And
team.
this
Yeah.
is our main question. How do you learn? This is the questions that I am asking everyone. What's your way to get new information, new changes, or new stuff? How do you learn?
Yeah, I usually kind of, at least for me, it works to apply something to learn something. When I learn some new coding language, I try to write some small application which is going to do X, I don't know. And the same for databases. When I want to learn databases, I try to build like an application which is utilizing this database, or I try to build some complex topology with this database. And also for me, I kind of don't have any other choice. I need to learn it because our users, customers come to me and say, hey, how do I do that? And I need to replicate this to understand what kind of problem do they face. So yeah, it's a constant process. But again, the fastest thing you can learn about the technology is to apply this technology somewhere. And once you do that, I think it's become much
So,
easier.
to condense, you are learning by coding. You are learning by implementing the system and
Correct.
seeing.
Yeah.
But for example, if you are learning something about monitoring, you have to implement incidents, implement some pathologic behavior. Do you do this?
Yeah. I am kind of fan of chaos engineering. There are lots
Cool.
of different tools, especially for, I don't want to make it all about Kubernetes, but in Kubernetes, there's lots of stuff like for chaos engineering where you can kill your nodes, pods, introduce some network latency or break something. And yeah, you can figure it out pretty easily. And once you like have tons of scenarios where something breaks, it's much easier for you to build the monitoring that would work.
That's a very interesting topic about chaos engineering. For example, we have something like Jepsen tests where we're trying to make a cluster lose some data. And do you do something like that? Like Nemesis says, destroy cluster with some specific way, and then check that all committed data is safe.
Correct. Yes.
Do
Even in our automated tests, specifically again for Kubernetes operators, we do have the chaos engineering in our QA cycles where we kill some nodes and we verify that the data recovered successfully. So yeah, we do that.
And is this open source? I didn't knew that this technology.
Yes.
Cool. Because
Yeah.
a year or so ago, we have to implement this system ourselves. And if I knew that you have this durability test for a cluster, probably we would better use your code. We use a lot of code from Percona, and that's great. It works.
Sure.
Okay, let's move on. So you are working on Kubernetes and databases in Kubernetes. What's your working environment? Do you use laptop or desktop, or do you use virtual machines or clouds or something like that? Can you talk about your work?
Yeah,
I see you have some trucks in your working place.
Yeah, it's Lego. Yeah, it's not
Cool.
so much working environment, playing fun, but yeah. My working environment, I have a laptop, I have a big screen here, and that's it mostly. As for day-to-day routine, like if I need to do some testing, I can do it sometimes locally, like spin up some Minikube, run some tests, kill it afterwards. But mostly when I need to do some testing, I usually need some big environment that exceeds the capacity of my laptop, definitely. So what I do, we have either Gkey or we use Google Cloud, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Or for the simpler stuff, I use Sivo. I don't know. Have you heard about Sivo? This
No. What's
yeah, this is like a new player in the field. They're building again, it's managed Kubernetes stuff. It's like DigitalOcean, but these are the new guys. I met them at some conference, and then we started our collaboration between, Sivo and Percona.
This is a managed Kubernetes, but not from Google.
Yeah, it's managed Kubernetes, not from Google. And what I love about them is that they can spin up a Kubernetes cluster for you within like a minute. And even on Gkey, it's like 5 minutes, and here it's a minute, and you have a working cluster. You do some testing, you kill it, and you're happy.
Probably they have some backlog of prepared Kubernetes clusters, and then
Oh yeah, we can go in depth, but they have quite nice technology based on K3s, on virtual kubelet. Yeah, they do a lot of fun stuff.
I see. So now we have a lot of like managed databases. Google offers Cloud SQL, Amazon offers RDS, and Azure offers something too. And you are creating Kubernetes Operator. And in future, something will win. Probably you are sure that Kubernetes operators will win managed services. What do you think about it?
No, actually, no. We believe in managed service. Let me tell you a bit the context of the story, right? Percona, at Percona, we were building MySQL, then we started building Mongo, then Postgres, and the story behind operators that users and customers started to come to Percona saying, hey, how can we run Percona software on Kubernetes? Because it's a platform of our choice, or we plan to move there. There are various use cases, right? And at Percona, we started thinking, okay, we can build a Docker container and just give it to the user. That's it. But then the users would come back to us and say, how can I build the cluster? How can I take the backup? Oh, I tried your Docker container. I started the cluster on Kubernetes, but it failed and I lost my data. Percona sucks, right? This would be the full story.
Yeah, it's absolutely, no, it's painful to hear lost data.
Yes. The lost data is a common thing. So we decided to give our users something more. We decided to give a way to run databases, but in a way that it is safe, that you're sure that you don't do some stupid mistakes, that you have security out of the box, like data trust encryption is working and so on. And also we are going to provide day two operations, which are like scaling, backups, managing, whatever, in the operator. And we started doing that. That's the operator story. But at the same time, we see that our customers started using operators to build their own DBAs, database as a service. They started using operators to build DBAs. And we thought, okay, it's quite interesting. What can we do in this field? And we see that managed databases market is growing, is taking over on-prem databases market quite heavily. And we understand that it is not sustainable for us to focus only on on-prem. And we're also kind of studying our journey to provide something like managed databases in the clouds, in public clouds, including and on-prem, but based on Kubernetes. So our operators are kind of foundational piece for our future managed databases offering, which is coming quite soon, actually. And we already have something which we provide to our customers, but it's more like managed services team is doing something for them. But we want to automate this experience and give it out to our customers. So to summarize, we believe that managed databases are going to slowly take over on-prem databases, and eventually more and more companies are going to rely on someone else's expertise versus running databases in-house.
And in these clouds and Kubernetes and on-premise, there is a DBA role. How do you think that DBA importance, does it rise with rise of managed in Kubernetes, or do you take some part of DBA work on your service, on your operator?
Yeah, managed databases, they definitely take away some complexity and allow you to run databases simpler. But DBA's role is kind of changing nowadays. Before it was, okay, how do I set up the replication for my MySQL cluster?
How to change my password?
Yeah, how to change my password. By the way, it's the most common search string, and it's the most popular blog post at Percona of all times. Like how to change my password, I think for Postgres user, it's like the most popular blog post. Right. So, but yeah, and so now DBAs, they don't need to think about it, how to do it. You can do it in UI, through API, whatever. But still, DBAs are very important when it comes down to orchestrating and architecting the database, tuning the queries for performance, and understanding which database to pick for your business application and so on. This is where DBAs are now focusing a lot, especially on this query tuning, because once you move to the cloud, you start running your applications on this fancy managed databases, and all of a sudden you receive a bill from Amazon, which is tens of thousands of dollars just on your RDS or Aurora, and you don't understand what's happening. And what is happening, you have some bad query running and hitting all your resources, and Amazon is also charging you for IOPS and so on. And you start thinking, okay, how do I tune it? And now this is the job for DBA to figure out where this bad query is, because managed services and public clouds, they're not going to help you. They are not interested in that because your bill is growing. They're pretty fine. They can give you as many resources as you want. So, yeah.
Okay, I see. So basically, DBAs with more sophisticated databases, DBAs have to learn and be more smart too, and they evolve with the industry. About scaling, what do you think about sharding solutions like Vitess and maybe MariaDB Expand and something like that? Do you encounter some cases when one server is not enough and you need more power?
Yeah. So it's the usual story. When you start with one server, then you create a cluster for high availability or for read scaling. And then eventually you start hitting your vertical limits where you cannot grow either the storage or the CPU capacity. And you start thinking about, okay, what to do next. And there are usually two ways. You have like application level sharding, like for example, I don't have an example. No, I have an example. I
There
don't think I
might
can name this
it
company.
is example of application, not a database technology.
Yeah. So you start like multiple MySQL clusters, for example, and in application you have some logic which is sending the traffic to various servers and clusters, right? And then you also can have sharding, which is implemented on database side. For example, as you mentioned, Vitess and Expand. I don't have much experience with Expand, but I have experience with Vitess. And definitely the problem is that most of developers, they think that, okay, I'm going to have sharding and that's it. That's gonna solve all of my problems. I'm just gonna have many databases. I'm gonna throw queries at it and let database figure out this stuff. But it's not the reality, because once you jump into that, you still need to understand how sharding works. What's the sharding key? Where you use your data and so on. Because if you do not optimize your application to utilize sharded database, then you are going to face lots of performance issues, because your performance of your application is as good as the performance of your worst shard, right? Because what if one of your shards is slow, then the whole application is going to be slow if your queries are so badly structured that you try to query all shards at once. And that's the most common misconception, that sharding is simple, the database is going to figure it out. But yeah, go ahead. No,
So basically, you're to rephrase you're saying that sharding proxies like Vitess are good, but application developers will still have to learn. Is it correct?
Well, I would not say they will have to learn. They will need to understand the constraints, because it's not just your database again is becoming bigger and bigger and you don't care. It's becoming bigger, but you need to care. You need to understand how your data is structured. Otherwise, you will hit lots of performance issues. But the beauty of Vitess, what I really love about it, is that you don't need to change anything in your application related to how you work with the database. It's still the same MySQL. You can use the same drivers, and you can even do a seamless transition to Vitess, because you're going to have the same endpoint or the same load balancer pointing to it and so on.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to migrate.
They have slightly different parser. They, as far as I know, they reuse TiDB parser, and I'm not entirely sure they support the same subset of SQL as MySQL. Probably MySQL grammar is much bigger than Vitess grammar, and you might have some queries that just don't run on Vitess.
Correct. Yeah, they're like I don't remember Well, there's lots of stuff that is not going to work out of the box, but they have the tool, I think, that can that allows you like to mirror your traffic to some VTest node where you can see which cars are going to
you
fail
can
and
say
so on.
sharding key and then just send the query as text, and MySQL will handle the rest. About SQL, how do you think, like 30 years ago, if you would ask someone, is SQL forever? They'd say that no, probably SQL is just not that good language. How do you think in next 30 years, will we replace SQL with something else?
I don't think replace, right? But I think that databases are going to gradually become simpler and simpler.
That's interesting.
There are two ways I think it can go. First way is that what we see already right now is happening is that many databases are trying to become fit them all stuff, a silver bullet. Like MongoDB is now they're trying to attack analytics. They have time series. They even have some SQL kind of stuff going on. So they want to say, use me for any use case, and you will be happy, right? And then Postgres is doing something similar. The popularity of Postgres is growing because there are so many extensions that you can use, and you can turn Postgres into anything. Like, use me, I am okay for any use case. And this is what I think is going to happen eventually, that we're going to see more and more database engines appearing like that, like, use me for everything. I'm good with everything, just use me, right? This is number one. And the second thing...
They say one-stop shop,
yes.
one-stop database engine. Anything will work.
Correct.
I don't personally believe in this, but please move on.
Yeah, but this is where we see it's already going. I don't believe as well that it's going to happen that the architect would say, okay, yeah, we're going to use this MongoDB for everything. Forget about any other database. It's kind of weird. But as for SQL and NoSQL and so on, I honestly don't believe that even in 30 years SQL will go away, because SQL and, in a nutshell, relational databases, they have their use cases, and their popularity is explained that they can cover vast majority of use cases that you have in your day-to-day life, like building a simple online shop is pretty good for that. But definitely we see that the amounts of data and the way we work with data nowadays is turning more and more towards NoSQL. At least this is how I see it, because even the popularity, again, MongoDB is growing because developers do not need to think how to structure their data. They just throw the data there and it magically works, right? It's NoSQL. And maybe this is where something is going to change, because just throwing the data in the database and letting it figure out how to structure it, how to index it, how to give you the performance that you need, this is where this is also going. And again, it's towards the simplicity path.
Okay, thank you. And one last question that I want to ask: can you recommend some book or podcast or some source of information to learn? If just one, what would you recommend? Maybe course.
Learn what? Learn databases?
Anything. Just learning. It's not always learning something that you know. Sometimes you have to learn about something you don't know.
Okay.
Or anything, just anything that you like.
Well, my personal top is Coursera. I think I watch at least one course per
It's
month.
too broad.
But
something narrower. One course that would you recommend?
Yeah. The last one I watched was digital product manager course from I don't remember which university. It was pretty good.
Okay. Thank you very much. I will put link under this video. Would you
Okay.
like to add something? Maybe ask something or something like that?
No. All good, all good. Thank you for having me today here. I really
Cool.
appreciate your time. It was nice to chat. Definitely.
Well, thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you, Henry.